Trying to wait and allow some more to come in. We may be running a little lean tonight. Gonna do something a little different tonight than what we've been doing because I want us to get through it. So I'm gonna ask if some would help us read tonight, and I'm gonna ask for volunteers that would read verses 1 through 5. Somebody to get 6 through 10. Somebody to get 11 through 15. And I'll finish up the last 3 there. I don't know, was it last week or week before last, I said something about that our preacher was coming early and that it probably would change again. It did. I got a text Monday night saying that, well, it looks like we'll be there by the end of next week. And I said, seriously? Well, he didn't answer me, so I called him, woke him up. I said, was that a joke? He said, no. He said, but I talked to Brother Jay, and we're actually, looks like because his sisters give them some furniture in Kentucky, they're going to go from South Dakota over to Kentucky and come down, so they're going to leave on the 7th of March and be here about the 10th. So, so I kind of wait till next week. We'll probably get another text that they're on the way. So, but they're very eager to get here, and they've got some other preachers put in place through Bear Valley up there where they're at, and they are starting a program up there that they're doing, and they know he's leaving, so it's kind of a little bit late in the game to get into it, to dig into that when they're going to be just leaving in a short amount of time. So they've got the okay to go ahead and leave when they want to. So, well, we've seen an accident on one of the interstates in South Dakota the other day. There was 127 vehicles in it, and I thought, no, I mean, it was just white and icy, and I thought, that's just not my kind of weather. So, but anyway, if I got somebody that'd be willing to read 1 through 5.
My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we all offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. Behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold also the ships, which though they be so great and are driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. Even so, the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth.
6 through 10. Go ahead, Bert.
And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, straining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life, and set on fire by head. For every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature, can be tamed and has been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. With it we bless our Lord and Father, and with it we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. My brothers, these things ought not to be so.
All right, 11 through 15.
Do the fountain send forth sacred? At the same place sweet water and bitter water bitter. Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine fig? So can no fountain bring yield salt water and fresh. Who is a wise man and endureth knowledge among you? Let him show out of good conversation his works, the meeks of his wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and strife in your heart, glory not and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish.
16 through 18. For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. I want to go ahead and read all 18 verses tonight to be sure that we got it all read, and I want to back up to verse 1 and we'll start discussion on it. My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive greater condemnation. Remember, James is here speaking, writing this, and the way he's talking, I can imagine a group that he's speaking to with this as it's being wrote. Things that are going on in that particular area, the church there, things that are being said, things that he's seeing, he is addressing all through this. Christianity is a taught religion. We are under the authority of a Great Commission. We are obligated to teach the gospel, but here, the way it says many masters, it seems that James is discouraging teaching a little bit, but on a different level. It seems that he's discussing that for public preaching. We must never forget that all Christians are commanded to teach, Matthew 28:18 through 20. Therefore, this exhortation from James is not discouraging Christians from all teaching, but from public teaching. Two qualities of a public teacher: ability and faithfulness. There's some men that get behind the pulpit that when they get down, they never should get back in it. And there's some men that get behind the pulpit that never should get out from behind it. We all know of different people that through the brotherhood, you have those that some people consider really, really, really good preachers and some that consider okay. And a lot of it is their speaking type, and it's how somebody relates to it or hears it. But then there's some people are easy to take what that preacher says and take an idea or a thought that a preacher has, and they carry it a little bit too far in some instance. Anybody have anything to say on that there, on verse 1? All right, we'll move on to verse 2. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. In Luke 1:6, Zechariah and Elizabeth were blameless. Though not necessarily sinless, the complete and mature man is not necessarily sinless, but is one who does not carry the guilt of the things that he has done in the past, because they have been submitted to Christ. For in many things we offend all. What do you think that means there, the way he says that?
It could be a stumbling block. Your actions, your attitude.
What you say?
What's your mouth?
Well, and another thing is, a lot of people in the world look at it as, well, he does such and such and so and so. Who's he to tell me how I should do whatever? And I think that that's the point that he's making. We all stumble, and that no one should try to present themselves as someone who doesn't stumble.
In the next part of that verse, if any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridleth the whole body. I think like what you said, there's sometimes people say things that they may have good intentions of when they say them, and have good meaning behind it for whatever the subject is they're speaking to. But like what Bethany said, sometimes there may be things in their past or things behind that's public knowledge, people know, that it offends them, like what she said. Why would you even be saying anything to me about that with your past or what you've done?
Also be just the tone with which speaks, a lot of times people come across as, especially now in this everybody be offended by everything
Yeah.
state of the world we live in, people think that, you know, you're being judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate the phrase, you can't judge me. I hear it, you know, at school all the time, and it's irritating because I want to go, nobody's judging you because they're telling you how you should act. That's not
Right.
judgmental. That's advice and
Correction.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't tend to like correction at all. In my line of work, sometimes you just get tired of putting up with people, honestly. And especially people that really shouldn't be doing some of the things they do and they bring to my shop. I mean, there's a reason they call us a mechanic shop. And sometimes I just get so frustrated, my attitude can change, and I know my voice can change very quickly. We had a guy there today that just, some people just don't need to work on their own stuff. And, you know, when that happens, and then they want to act like I'm the bad guy for showing them what they done wrong. And sometimes it just, I see what you're saying there. Sometimes you just get tired, you know, of just dealing with people sometimes, and your attitude can change with it.
Do we know what perfect is referring to here? when it says-
I kind of tried to see if I had anything on it. One of the things here that commentators have had a problem with this verse is they seem that James went from discussing teachers to discussing a man in that he could be perfect. Like in discussing the teacher and preacher role, the commentators, some of them want to act like it has to be somebody that's completely perfect, like they think of the priest, that they're completely perfect, that there's no sin.
It sounds like he's saying nobody's perfect.
Well,
Because he says, for we all stumble in many ways, and if anybody doesn't stumble, then he's perfect. So I read that as, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's perfect.
And there's other parts in the way James has spoken some of this that would seem like it could have been his tone of voice in the way he was using it. We're not enlightened into that, but
there's a reference to 1 John chapter 2, verse 5. But whoso keepeth his word, in him verily is the love of God perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him.
I kind of tried to look a little bit to try to understand it. I didn't find anything that just jumped out in that. The part of this verse, and able also to bridle the whole body, I think that is speaking to our reactions in things, our body language, how we, as we go on down, it talks about bits in a horse's mouth and bridleth in the tongue, but here he uses it bridleth the whole body. I believe the way it refers, he's referring to our body language. How would we pitch a fit and stomp our feet and jump around, you know, because we was upset, you know. Sir?
How you come across.
Right, how you come across.
You may have one thing in mind, but somebody else reads something else.
I got some notes here. It is interesting to notice that James uses the word that means, in Greek I think it is, means male, indicating again that public preacher part here. There's another part here. Wisdom literature, particularly the Jewish wisdom literature, has much to say about the tongue and the bridle and the it, but then here it seems that he's speaking of the body action of how things are. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes no matter what you're saying out of your mouth, body language.
All through, we're talking about bridling the tongue. There's many things that they've got a list things that the tongue can do, uses of the tongue that is good. Defend the truth, confess Christ, sing spiritual songs and hymns, confess sins, go to prayer for people. And then sinful uses of the tongue, lying, profanity, tale-bearing, angry words, backbiting, murmuring and complaining, criticism, and preaching false doctrine was some of the things I had. Because he's leading into talking about the tongue and how it's bridled also. And then you get down James 3:3, behold, we put bits in a horse's mouth that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. I've got a lot of experience with that in training horses over the years. And part of one of the things the bit does is it commands attention of that animal. And for years there was certain ways that I learned to train young horses that was very, very easy to do from a young age. We would actually just use copper wires that would be twisted together, not much at all, to put in their mouth and teach them to take a 1,200 pound animal and be running 35 mile an hour at 1 minute and come to a complete stop the next minute, all with that little bitty wire, is the control that it has there. He begins this illustration of what is being discussed. It's a small bit that makes a powerful horse obey a mere man. And I think back to a lot of the parables that was used in Jesus' time was things that they associated with on a daily basis, things that they could relate to quickly. Yes, there's not as many people that trains and rides horses now. In that time, that was their tractor, it was their truck, it done everything, and so that's why it was so valued to them, was either a horse or a donkey or such as that, or an ox, which was controlled a lot the same way with a stick. He goes on down in verse 4, and behold also ships, which though they be so great and are driven with fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. Same illustration this time with a ship. What are some mistakes that a teacher may make in his teaching? Now, let's think about that for a minute in these two verses, 3 and 4, talking about the bits, a small part, talking about the helm of a ship, a small part that creates so much. How many times do we know of throughout the brotherhood, throughout churches we've either been a part of in the past, I hope not now, but that one man that can be either behind this pulpit or be a teacher on a regular basis, his word can control so much in a church. It's a pretty common thing in a lot of places, especially in the denomination world. Whoever holds this position right here is basically boss and leader of whatever congregation that is. And I think that's what he's relating to here, is a small person or a small part can control such a large part. Our government is set up a lot different, and I ain't gonna even try to get into that, how it is, but the way it's supposed to be set up is very different than how the church is set up. in some ways. In some ways, it's kind of set up with the eldership being over the church and taking care of them matters that comes and goes and in and out, to where a lot of the denominations, whatever is considered their pastor, that one person, guides that whole group. And so evidently there was things that was going on, whether it was either people that had influence with money, influence with their word, and he's speaking against it here at this. And that's what I read out of this and believe. Anybody have any comments or what they see out of this?
Well, the next version of the tongue is a small one.
Yeah, I was going to hold up on that. Go ahead, David.
We was answered back prior to.
Yeah. So verse 5, even so the tongue is a little member that boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. If you've ever lit a fire, what do you usually start with? A match. That one little bitty fire can burn a whole lot, can it?
All it takes is one word to say to one person.
One word.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea behind bridling the tongue, you know.
Yep.
You can steer so many people the wrong way,
Right.
especially if there's no study. If the congregation doesn't study, doesn't know, then they're just gonna follow whatever.
And I think that's why he's talking about the teaching aspect of it there. The faithfulness, the abilities being the ability to be able to do it, but the faithfulness, if somebody's faithful, what do they do all the time? In a preacher-teacher's position like that, what do they do, Bethany? Study. So you know the word, right? And so you know what it is day in, day out. And I think that's why he keeps coming down, because he starts with that part there, public speaking, and he comes on down talking, because obviously there must have been something going on with the men there in that area. May have thought what they were doing publicly, teaching, preaching, was what they were supposed to be doing. But they may have not been equipped with the things they needed to be equipped with. One, the knowledge of studying, and we got to think, they didn't have bookstore that had 25,000 of these in town, they could go to and get. So there again, they were limited on what their resources were. So I think this is where he's getting into this. Great things literally means to, let's see, the Greek word here, great things, meglalachio. I'm not very good on the Greek part there, but it literally means to lift up the neck in some way, puff up, to boast. A tongue can do great things, but it also can do great harm. Just as what Christine was saying, one word. Be careful what you say. You may have to eat your words, and they don't always taste good the second time. We use the term a lot, having to eat crow. I never did eat any crow growing up as a kid. I know what the purpose of a crow is, and I've seen what a crow's around, and I don't think it tastes like chicken. So, I wouldn't want to have to, and I think that's why the term is used that way, eat crow. So, how great a little matter, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. We talked about the match, a little bitty match. It always starts with a little bitty spark. So, how many times do we know things that started out with one thing said, and then it kept going, it kept going, it kept going. Before you knew it, it was in a big uproar. It happens as a teenager in school. I think that's a daily thing they strive to get done, and we call it drama. A lot of times, nothing's changed. I'm glad my kids ain't in public school.
What's sad is it used to be just in high school, but now it's elementary school, like
Yeah.
lower grade elementary school.
Yeah. At home?
They see it at home too.
I was fixing to say, how, you know, we laugh and we joke about it in school, but how much of it goes on in the workplace? So-and-so done this, so-and-so done that, so-and-so, this is a problem, you know. And it gets, and unfortunately, because sometimes parents want to vent, we come home and we talk about them things to our spouse or to family members that ends up being in front of kids, and they learn how that means and what it is. And we sometimes teach it to them without realizing we're doing it. And so sometimes our kids can pick up on how things are by our body language with that stuff also. James 3:6. That's why I read all that. I knew we wouldn't get through all this. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and is set on the fire of hell. A world of iniquity, world of unrighteousness, the negative of that which is right. The tongue can set on fire the course of nature. We can change the world with our tongues, right? Biblically speaking, that's what we're supposed to do, correct? There it goes back to that list of good things we can do with our tongue. The tongue can set on fire the course of nature. The things that we can do. The only time in the New Testament that someone other than Jesus uses Gehenna, and here Jesus' half-brother uses it, the Hebrew part, uses it to describe the fire that results from the misuse of the tongue. It says it is set on fire of hell. The only thing that...
Translation says when it is set on fire by hell.
The what now?
So what you read says, and it is set on fire by hell. My Romanian translation says, when it is set on fire by hell. Interesting.
You know, you were talking a while ago about they didn't have the written
Mhm.
word. And they certainly didn't have phones in their hands with
Right.
multiple translations available
Right.
there. But the Bible in basic English says, and the tongue is a fire. It is the power of evil placed in our bodies, making all the body unclean, putting the will of life on fire, and getting its fire from hell.
Okay.
Yeah, which is similar to what.
Yeah. And King James just is, which that's New King James. No, it's just King James, is and is set on fire of hell.
King is the same.
Do what? New King James, same too? Okay.
ESV is too.
Most of them then are translated that, but the Romanian said, how was it listed again? When.
Yeah.
When the fires of
Set on
hell.
fire by hell.
Okay.
And this one says in getting its fire.
Yeah.
So
Which
the
is kind of
source-
similar to that.
The source is hell.
Yeah. Yeah. So James 3:7, for every kind of beast, and of birds, and of the serpents, and of the things in the sea, is tamed, and it hath been tamed of mankind. Verse 8, but the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil full of deadly poison. Comments on that?
Cut it off.
Wherever your heart.
I knew somebody'd say that, but I'm going to quote a part out of an old Western with an Indian in it. You know, Indians were big on that stuff. If a brave or somebody spoke wrongly to the chief, like in a real bad way, they would cut their tongue out. But I can't.
The Bible teaches the same thing, right?
Right. There was one that talked about that. Basically, what they come to was the chief told him, said you can cut his tongue out, but his thoughts still speak loudly, so kill him. And that's what the thing was. And you think about it, how many times do we think of a lot of different things that we don't ever speak? So I kind of think of this when it says can't be tamed. Even if you cut the tongue out, you still have things that you could think about,
Well,
you know.
And I think that also goes along with back when, you know, in the Old Testament, when they went and, you know, God gave the children of Israel this country, said, here, go get these people. But you better kill everybody.
Yeah.
Every person,
Right.
every child, every animal, everything.
Nothing to come from
And
their
that's
background.
why.
Yeah,
Because it will continue to breed here.
right. Even though they can't speak it, their actions, that body language, we talked about. So, all right.
Then, you know, 17 and 18 closes it out, going ahead, go ahead.
Sir?
I was gonna say 17 and 18, the last two verses, turn it back to what you should do. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to read through. We could, so I'm going to go to 10. Out of the same mouth proceedeth blessings and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not to be. He goes down through 11, 12, and 13, 14, talking about that different things that good and evil can't come from the same. There's a lot of discussion there about, you know, can a tree bear sweet fruit, bitter fruit? Can a fig tree, you know, have olives? It's just talking about that good and evil things can't come from the same, shouldn't be coming from the same. It's wrong. Gets down in 15, talking about where the wisdom descendeth from, but it descendeth from above, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish. The kind of thinking that will not admit what it really is devilish. Somebody not coming to terms with things, what they're actually being. Skip on down 17, but the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreating, full of mercy and good fruit, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Above, translated from the word translated again in John 3 and 5, pure, first and primary, holy, uncontaminated. Matthew.
John 3:5.
Yeah, above, here it's above, translated again in John 3:5. You go on down Matthew 5 and 9, peaceable, blessings that are, blessed are the peacemakers, peace with God, not necessarily men. Go on to 18. The fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. And in James 3:18 could be translated moreover. Point here, the wisdom that is from above produces fruit. The fruit of righteousness is the result of a work of righteousness. The sowing of righteousness would be the keeping and teaching of the commandments of God. The fruit would be the result of the keeping and the learning from the teachings. Peace.
Proverbs 4:7, it says, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom.
Right.
Get understanding.
With the wisdom, if you get the wisdom, the things you learn with the wisdom, especially through the scriptures, helps overcome and take care of everything else that comes along with it.
Speak out of turn, as they may say.
If you get it first, you basically have covered the basis of what you'll be doing from then on out.
From above, not
Right,
worldly wisdom.
right.
Wisdom.
So not from man. You're to please God here, not man. So I tried to get through it the best I could on 18 verses. Hopefully you got something out of that. I hope you did. I do apologize. I was trying to study as much as I could with it, and I was having some issues trying to find answers to some of the questions I had with it. And but I hope you enjoyed the class and got a little bit out of it. So thank y'all.